Hello, I'm Mrs. Jansen. Let's draw a Zentangle turtle together. First, let's start with vocabulary. Contour line is the outline of a form. Pattern is art elements such as lines, shapes, and colors combined to form a design that is repeated. Zentangle was created by two artists, Maria Thomas and Rick Roberts. Lines and simple shapes are repeated to create patterns within a shape. Zentangle artwork was originally created with black ink on white paper. Many people find this type of art relaxing. First, I'd like you to notice how different each of these turtles are. Each artist made their own choices and drew the turtles differently. I'd also like you to notice the shapes these artists created within the turtle shell and on the head, legs, and tail of the turtle. Notice all the different ideas you see as these artists added patterns. So today, as we draw a turtle together, all of our turtles are going to look different, and then each artist can decide what shapes within the turtle you'd like to add. Zentangle patterns often have more than one step and may have a part that is colored in. At first, the patterns may look challenging to create, but notice they are made with simple steps that are repeated. So let's look at this pattern together. Notice how on the left it starts with a large X, and then we have a large diamond. Let's look in the second square. And notice within that large diamond, the artist drew two diagonal lines. In the third square, you'll notice that this artist added two more sets of diagonal lines. And then underneath, there was a small diamond shape, and the artist colored it in. The artist repeated that exact pattern in the three remaining small diamonds within that large diamond. And then when the large diamond was full, the artist added diagonal lines in the other empty spaces. And then that empty shape within that space was colored in. So when it comes to Zentangle patterns, remember that it starts with a simple step, and the steps are repeated and then added to. So let's look at this pattern on the top right, and when you look at the fourth square, it appears like it's woven. And let's look at how the artist accomplished this. So the artist started with four curved lines that are in a diagonal direction, and then underneath, four curved lines that are in a horizontal direction. And notice in the second square how that alternates. They go back and forth until they get to the opposite corner. So they created this in a diagonal direction. I'd like you to look closely at the third square. And what I'd like you to notice is that every time you draw next to any of the curved lines that are more vertical in that diagonal direction, you need to be drawing curved lines that are horizontal. And anytime you're drawing next to those curved horizontal lines, you need to be adding those curved vertical lines that are in a diagonal direction. And that's what's going to give you that effect that it's woven. Now, these patterns are idea starters. You can choose to use some of these if you'd like in your own artwork, or you can choose to create your own. And I know you've got great ideas. So as you look at these, you can see how they start with simple steps and those steps are repeated and added to. And I know you've got great ideas. So now it's time for us to create artwork. You'll need a piece of paper and a pencil. And before we get started today, I'd like you to think about what you'd like your art to look like when it's finished. You can choose to leave it in pencil. You can choose to trace the pencil lines with a black pen or a black marker like a Sharpie. It's really important, if you plan to use Sharpie, that you leave larger empty spaces in between the lines you draw and larger empty spaces around the shapes. Because when you're tracing with that marker, it fills in those empty spaces. So make sure if you are going to use a marker, you leave larger empty spaces. So you'll see the screen change so that we can draw together. So please place your paper portrait style, which is vertical, up and down, or the tall way. And the first thing we're going to do is pick up the right side of the paper and match the corners on the left. So we're going to create a vertical fold. And this vertical fold is really going to be a guideline, and we're actually going to use it in our artwork today. So now after you've folded your paper and opened it up, place it portrait style again, vertical or the tall way. And now we're going to add more guidelines. Let's place 3 fingers at the bottom of your paper and add a straight horizontal line. And now let's go to the left side and add 3 finger spaces away, a vertical line. Now let's go to the right side and 3 finger spaces away from the edge, add another straight vertical line. Now let's go to the top of the paper. And when you place the 3 fingers at the top of the paper, add a horizontal line. And now I'd like you to place your hand at the top of the paper, including the thumb, and under your thumb, add a horizontal line. So these are guidelines we're going to use today to draw the turtle. So first we're going to start the turtle shell. So we're going to go to this horizontal line, the second horizontal line from the top, and we're going to make it wider. And then we're going to add a curved line that connects to that vertical line we drew on the side. And this is a sketch, so we're using light pressure. At any time you decide you'd like to change one of the marks, make sure that it's light pressure so that it doesn't show when you erase it. Let's add a curved line at the end of this horizontal line to connect to the vertical line on the left. And now we're going to make this vertical line longer. So it's a straight vertical line. And now we're going to add a curved line to connect the bottom of that straight line to the horizontal one. We're going to do the same thing on this side. So when I look at this turtle shell, I think it looks a little pointed. So I'm just going to erase that point on each side, and I'm going to make it more curved. All right, now I'm going to start the shapes within that turtle shell. And I'm just going to add a line on the inside of the shell all the way around. And this is a space that I would consider adding a lot of different designs. Now this is just one idea, so you don't have to do it exactly how you see me. Add the shapes within the turtle shell. I know you've got your own great ideas. All right, now I'm going to use this vertical line. I'm going to draw right on that center fold. And now I'm going to add lines to the shell. So 2 diagonal lines. And now I'm going to connect them with a horizontal line. And then I'm going to add 2 more diagonal lines. And at the end of these, I'm going to add the horizontal lines. And now 2 more diagonal lines that go in. And now I'm going to connect them with a horizontal line. I'm going to add 2 more diagonal lines that go out. And then I'm going to add the horizontal line on each side of those. And the 2 diagonal lines that go in. And I'm going to connect them with a horizontal line. And then I'm going to add 2 more diagonal lines. All right, so now I'm going to look at the center. When I look at this line on the left, I like the way it looks, but I want to change this one. So I'm just going to add a line next to it, and I'm going to take that first one away. And then I'm going to look closely to see if there's any other changes I'd like to make. I think I want to change this one a little bit. And then I'm going to go around this shell and I'm going to draw each line to the outside of the shell. So this center line within each of these shapes creates 2 different spaces that you can add patterns. And then you have spaces all around on the inside of the shell and then all around on this outside edge of the shell. All right, now let's add the head. Let's turn this curve, this straight horizontal line into a curved line like a rainbow. And now let's add the opposite curve for the neck, and it goes down to the turtle shell. Now let's add the eyes and add 2 curved lines that look like parentheses. And now we're going to color those in, and I'm going to add to them a little bit on the outside so they look like they're sticking out from the side of the turtle's head. And then you can shade them in with your pencil. And I'm looking at that curved line that I drew like a rainbow, and I want to add to it a little bit, so I added it on top. And now I take away the line that I decided I didn't want. And now it's time to draw the legs. And our turtle's going to be swimming. We're looking down on the turtle, so we're really looking from what's called an aerial view. So as our turtle swims, it can be moving the legs in a different direction. So start the right leg with a curve like a rainbow and let it continue down. And then about 2 finger spaces away, add another curved line for the thickness of the leg. And then when they meet, instead of a point, add a curved line. And now let's add a curve like a rainbow on the left. And remember, about 2 finger spaces away, for the thickness of the leg, add another curved line. And then you're going to add to that curved line when you bring them together. Make sure it's more rounded. And now we're going to add the back legs, that curve, more like a rainbow again. And then about 2 finger spaces away, a curve in the opposite direction, and make sure it's more rounded than pointed. And now the second leg, that curve in this direction, and then about 2 finger spaces away, the opposite curve. And a softer curve at the bottom. Again, they don't have to be exactly the same. And now it's time to add the tail. The tail's moving also when it swims, so I'm going to add a curved line. And then this is smaller, about a finger space away. I'm going to add another curved line, and I think I want to have that tail look a little smaller. And this is more pointed at the bottom. All right, so the next thing we have to decide is if we'd like to add any shapes within the legs. I'm going to add a line like this. And these shapes that we add are areas where you're going to be adding your own patterns. And I decided I wanted to just add this shape within each of the legs. And in my artwork, I'm going to leave the head as it is so that I'm adding just one pattern to the head. The next choice that I need to make is whether or not I'd like to add wavy lines to represent the movement of the water. And we've done it. We've drawn the turtle, and now it's time for you to add your own ideas to draw patterns. So I hope you enjoy creating your own Zentangle patterns, and I look forward to creating art with you again soon.